Hello all, this is my next video in the series of clinically oriented anatomy case-based questions and answers with explanations, which will help in integrating the knowledge of anatomy with clinical aspects. This video has a clinical scenario-based case followed by structured essay questions related to neuroanatomy part 4. The case is a 58-year-old woman with a long history of cigarette smoking presents with left-sided neck pain. She has double vision, that is diplopia, when looking to the left, and weakness on right side of the body. On examination, she has left lateral rectus palsy, left facial palsy, and right hemiparesis. MRI demonstrates an infarct in some part of the brainstem. She is diagnosed with Millard-Gobler syndrome. So this case is of 10 marks. Related to this, the questions are: 1. Which part and side of brainstem is having the infarct? Where exactly is the lesion in that part? 1.5 marks. Second question, enumerate the 3 anatomical structures that are affected in the above scenario. 1.5 marks. Question 3, the nuclei of the affected cranial nerves in this case belong to which functional columns or components? 2 marks. Question 4, comment on the vascular occlusion in this case. 2 marks. And question 5, explain the anatomical basis of differentiating Millard-Gobler syndrome from Foville syndrome and discuss middle alternating or crossed hemiplegia, which is of 3 marks. So coming to question 1, which part and side of brainstem is having the infarct and where exactly is the lesion in that part? The infarct is in the unilateral, that is one-sided pons, and that is on the left side. So left side pons, and the lesion in the pons, it is most likely in the lower, that is caudal basal part of the pons. As we can see here, this is the transverse section of the pons at the level of facial colliculus, that is the caudal part, lower part, in which the anterior, this part is the basilar part, whereas the posterior part is the tegmentum. So the area of pons which is mainly affected is the caudal pons and the basilar part here, and that is of the left side. So enumerate the 3 anatomical structures that are affected in the above scenario. So in this case, the abducent nerve fibers, that is cranial nerve number 6 fibers, facial nerve, that is cranial nerve number 7 fibers, and the descending corticospinal pyramidal tract fibers, all of same side, they are affected. So here we can see in the Millard-Gobler syndrome, the lesion in the caudal basilar part of the pons. Here we can see involvement of the abducent nerve fiber, the facial nerve fiber, and the descending corticospinal fiber are affected. Question 3, the nuclei of the affected cranial nerves in this case belong to which functional columns or components? So the abducent nerve and related is the abducent nucleus, which is a somatic motor nucleus belonging to somatic efferent column, whereas the facial motor nucleus is a branchial motor nucleus belonging to spatial visceral efferent, that is SVE column. As we can see here, this is the diagram of the posterior view of the brainstem, and this middle part is the pons, and we can see here the abducent nucleus and the facial motor nucleus are located at the level of the caudal part, that is lower part of the pons. The abducent nucleus belong to somatic efferent column and the facial motor nucleus belong to spatial visceral efferent, that is branchial motor column. Question 4, comment on the vascular occlusion in this case. In this case, the vascular occlusion involve mainly the branches of basilar artery. As we can see here, this is the basilar artery related to the ventral aspect of the pons. The basilar artery lies in sulcus basilaris. The basilar artery is formed by the union of two vertebral artery at the lower border of pons, and then the basilar artery runs up to the upper border of pons, where it bifurcates into the two posterior cerebral arteries. The main branches of basilar artery which are seen here are the many pontine branches, which are transverse pontine branches. Then there is labyrinthine artery, then there is anterior inferior cerebellar artery, and then there is the superior cerebellar artery, and eventually basilar artery bifurcates as the posterior cerebral artery. Now let's see in short the branches of basilar artery. There are three sets of branches which supply the pons: paramedian, that is transverse pontine branches, short circumferential branches, and long circumferential branches. The paramedian branches, transverse pontine branches, mainly supply the medial motor structures, paramedian on each side of midline, whereas the circumferential branches supply more lateral areas. So paramedian transverse pontine branches supply the medial structures, the short circumferential supply ventrolateral aspect, and the long circumferential branches supply dorsolateral or dorsal aspect, which are all branches of basilar artery. These arteries are supplemented by anterior inferior cerebellar and superior cerebellar arteries. So as we can see here, this is the caudal part of the pons, and as we go here, this is the rostral or upper part of the pons. So this territory, paramedian, this is supplied by the paramedian transverse pontine branches of basilar artery. Laterally we can see here, ventrolaterally, this area is supplied by short circumferential branches of basilar artery, whereas the dorsolateral aspect is supplied by long circumferential branches of basilar artery. In the caudal part, it is also supplied by anterior inferior cerebellar artery, and as you go higher up, so this area will be also supplied by the superior cerebellar artery. So the occlusion is mainly in the branches of the basilar artery, that is paramedian branches and the circumferential branches of the basilar artery. Question 5. Explain the anatomical basis of differentiating Millard-Gobler syndrome from Foville syndrome, and discuss middle alternating, that is crossed hemiplegia. So we have just seen here in the Millard-Gobler syndrome, there is ipsilateral peripheral facial palsy, which is lower motor neuron type of facial paralysis involving one half of the face due to cranial nerve 7, that is facial nerve fibers, as we can see here. Then there is a contralateral hemiplegia with sparing of face due to descending corticospinal tract involvement. And there is ipsilateral lateral rectus palsy in the form of medial squint with diplopia, that is exaggerated when the patient looks towards the side of lesion, and that is because of involvement of the ipsilateral abducent nerve fibers. Whereas in Foville syndrome, where the site of lesion is again in the caudal, that is lower part of the pons, but more dorsomedially, also involving the tegmentum part. So there is a dorsomedial involvement, and in addition to the contralateral hemiparesis and ipsilateral cranial nerve 6, that is abducent, and 7, that is facial palsies of Millard-Gobler syndrome, additionally there is ipsilateral conjugate gaze palsy, that is ipsilateral lateral rectus and contralateral medial rectus involvement, leading to inability of the contralateral eye to cross the midline medially. So there is loss of lateral, that is horizontal gaze towards the side of lesion, and this is because of injury to the paramedian pontine reticular formation, which is very closely situated to the abducent nucleus here in the tegmentum part of the caudal pons. But remember that convergence will be intact, as such there is no involvement of oculomotor nerve or nucleus, but because there is involvement of paramedian pontine reticular formation, there is conjugate gaze palsy. So let's just summarize the function of the paramedian pontine reticular formation. This area, which is located very near to abducent nucleus, receives input from the contralateral, that is opposite frontal eye field, and from here and the abducent nucleus, the same side nucleus will supply the lateral rectus muscle via abducent nerve, but also projects to the opposite medial longitudinal fasciculus, which will eventually supply the opposite oculomotor nucleus and the oculomotor nerve to the medial rectus muscle. So eventually both the eye will deviate to the same side. So that is a function of the paramedian pontine reticular formation. So this will be affected in the fovea syndrome. The middle alternating or crossed hemiplegia. What do you mean by that? The alternating or crossed hemiplegias occur when the descending corticospinal fibers along with cranial nerve fiber get affected due to vascular occlusion. Such a lesion seen in brainstem vascular occlusions results in contralateral hemiplegia and ipsilateral cranial nerve palsy. When the lesion is in the pons, and as we know pons is the middle part of brainstem, so there is ipsilateral cranial nerve 6 or 7 palsy along with contralateral hemiplegia due to involvement of ipsilateral corticospinal fibers. So this is known as middle alternating or crossed hemiplegia. If the occlusion is in the medulla oblongata, that is lower part, it is known as inferior alternating hemiplegia. And if the occlusion is in the level of midbrain, then it will be superior alternating hemiplegia. So thank you. Keep sharing, like and subscribe my channel if you benefit from this video, and look forward to more such case-based scenarios involving clinical anatomy of all the regions of the body. Thank you.